What car for challenges today? Oh, the SV, definitely. For the top speed, as always. This will be my last 1 versus 1 because there's only 19 hours left. Very unlikely that I'll get the Da Vinci to 2-star. The captain of our second Asylum team, the madAsylum 2 that's being formed today, filling up quickly. Have a look at the description for the details. We need players that do at least 5k rep a day. He's asked me whether I was familiar with string theory because I started talking about dimensions in my last video. I didn't get to study string theory, but I'm aware of it and its principles. And it's one of the greatest things I ever heard in my life. Like it answered that old question. Like I remember being 15 at school. Sorry for that overspin. I remember being 15 at school and someone in my physics class talking about atoms and imagining they're like little planets. The electrons orbiting the proton, like moons around the planet, like satellites around a planet. And then thinking about the question, oh, what's smaller than an atom? And my teacher talking about muons and quarks, and then someone going, oh, what's smaller than that? And my teacher had an answer for that because he wrote a massive paper on subatomic particles. But then lower than that, no one had an answer. And even in, I don't know what year that was, probably 1997, 1998, no one had an answer for me as to what is the smallest particle in the universe. And it's a really deep question because stuff has to be made of something, and it can't just get smaller and smaller and smaller forever, and then there'd be smaller things and smaller things and smaller things. And then string theory came along and it had this beautiful principle that the smallest particles that we see in our three-dimensional world are actually just waves of energy oscillating or vibrating on dimensions that we can't really comprehend. And when they oscillate on those dimensions, those small squiggly dimensions, they appear to us as 3D particles in our universe. I think an analogy someone's once used to try and help describe that is if you imagine an ant on a wire. An ant on a wire lives in a two-dimensional universe. It can go along the wire and around the wire, but it exists within a larger three-dimensional universe, and we're in our three-dimensional universe, but there's more dimensions that make it deeper than just the three that we perceive. I think there's 6 of the little small dimensions that are used for energy to vibrate on to create the smaller particles. The 3 traditional dimensions we know now, time, and the higher level dimension that allows for the multiverse. So 11-dimension universe. I screwed up this race. Let's get to the end. I forgot to press play again on the recording. I meant to pause it during the race, unpause it before the finish line, and my finger slipped and I pressed stop on the recording. It happens. I need to walk to the supermarket in a moment to buy some what's known as Green's lemon meringue pie filling. It's this really sugary powder that you mix with water and an egg, and it turns into this gooey, sticky lemon sweet thing that you stick in the middle of a lemon meringue pie. Really cheap, really 80s, really nice. Nothing to do with string theory. I can't remember much else. I remember, was it M theory or W theory? I think it's M theory, but my head's blank other than that. It just gave me a bit of calm getting an answer to that question, what's the smallest particle? And the fact that someone's got an answer that makes sense is incredible. I never thought anyone would have an answer that made sense for that question. the stuff that got me thinking about dimensions a lot yesterday was because I was watching that Black Holes documentary on Netflix that's showing the process that they went through to take the image of the black hole in the centre of the Milky Way. They weren't very clear though whether the picture they showed at the end was one of a black hole in the centre of M87 or a black hole in the centre of our galaxy. M87 is another galaxy, what was it, 54 million light years away. And then we've got the one in the middle of ours, which is known as, I think it's a Sagittarius A, the black hole at the centre of Sagittarius A. It's like they were solving something known as the information paradox, but it wasn't even a real thing because it was based on flaws in the moment. It was saying information goes into a black hole and never comes out, but does it ever really go in? That was I don't think it ever really goes in. And the physicists in this documentary demonstrate that the information that you think is inside the black hole is just on the edge, is on the surface of the black hole in what they call the soft air around the black hole. So if you imagine all the stuff that's going into a black hole, it never actually gets in it, it's just left. I'm not expressing that right, because it does go in it, but there's information on what went in, all in that corona of the black hole. Everything's there. And I used to think about falling into a black hole, that time slows down to a point that nothing ever actually goes in. It speeds up and time slows down. And that's basically what that theory is saying, if all the information's still there, because it's never actually progressed. That was a bad spin again. It's hard to talk and drive. That's why you shouldn't use a mobile phone when driving a real car, and not even hands-free. Because when you drive with hands-free, you're still thinking about the call, and you're still not focused on the road. People can't drive with mobiles, whether it's hands-free or not. I never drive with a mobile phone or talking on a mobile phone, but it's mainly simple for me because I hardly ever use a mobile phone. It's like it's easy for me to say I've never ever driven drunk because I don't drink. So simple to avoid that one as well. I think I said already this is going to be my last 1 versus 1. I think the races have got harder in the last few days because many novices have given up with 1 versus 1. And after you update the game, when you update Asphalt, for the moment after you update it, you're only playing with the people that have also updated it. So if you're really quick to update, the people that are quick to update are better players. Well, I've lost him though. In his LaFerrari. So that's why I don't like spinning there that much. I prefer the shockwave's much faster in the air on that jump. That's why I normally pause before the jump, then shockwave through the jump and through the air without spinning. And then I've also always got more control going through that final, what would you call it, chicane sequence through the buildings. I had a dream once, probably in the year 1999, where I was dreaming I was at my childhood home and I looked out a window and there were hills in the distance and I saw these explosions happening, like nuclear explosions, but all different colours. and happening in the sky, not just on the ground. So there were these spherical explosions of colour on the horizon, just dominating the view. And I turned to my mother and I said, "Mum, what are those explosions?" And she said, "Don't worry, that's the brain gun." And that was the end of the dream. And part of me had this feeling that the word brain wasn't brain as in someone's brain in their head. It was the word from membrane. It was part of the word membrane. I've lost the race. He's very quick. Now, so it was the brain gun, B-R-A-N-E. And then later, along this, like, how many years later? Several years later, many years later, I learnt about string theory. And there's something called a brain in when you're talking about our universe. The brain is the... If you imagine our universe has an outside, like if you were going to put it in a bubble, when I was talking about higher dimensions, if you just want to visualize our universe and put it into a bubble and say that's our universe, the edge of the bubble would be called the brain. And I think there's a theory that if two brains collide, that creates a big bang. So there's just these, imagine like a loaf of bread with lots of slices in it, which are these that loaf of bread's not the right thing. I can't think of the right analogy. If you imagine all these balloons, and when the balloons collide, that creates an explosion inside, which creates the matter that could be coming from anywhere else. And I never got to the detail of understanding these things, but it suddenly sort of made everything okay, because everything equals nothing, therefore everything's possible, therefore everything's okay, therefore it's simple. The Big Bang's simple because everything equals nothing, so why can't everything come from nothing? It's fine. It's just balance. Made me think though that a Big Bang can happen again in any universe if the edge of our universe, the brain, collides with another brain and there's a transition, there's a transfer of energy. I need to speed up. Cannot lose this race. I'm going to pause though, because I want my shockwave to last over that ramp. I've got to be clean through here. I'm going to do a 360 shockwave though, hopefully. Yep. I'm not going to press drift to land because it was in shockwave and I wanted it to continue. Not going to take that jump because I'm miles ahead now. But I am going to start using that jump in competitive situations. Right. I've lost two, haven't I? So I'm on my... It's like you're on the edge of a cliff when you've only got one. It's liberating though. Because you know the next race is you're either going to go forward or it's the end. I said then I find calm in these pieces of knowledge. There's these few pieces of knowledge, the infinite primes proof, string theory. These things give me calm. Because something makes sense. I'll start practicing the up route again as well. Because I know I'm making it. I know this route isn't really costing me much, but I lost the last race because of it. The last race on Himalayas. But normally it does me fine, but I know the upper route is probably better if I learn to drive it properly, but I haven't learned to drive the top route properly. I think the going right at the beginning is simpler, I think, to get right. Right, level 6 done. I'm okay with that. Now it's all gravy, as the expression says. And I've no idea what that means. I've got my own meaning in my head of what that means. Gravy's nice and it's extra. It just adds to the goodness. It's all gravy. Now my head started singing the Only Fools and Horses song to myself. It's fun living in Shepherd's Bush when there's a line in the Only Fools and Horses song about a mush in the bush. And I was walking down the street a couple of years ago, and someone that owns the original, one of the original Trotter three-wheeled vans was parked at the end of my road, and he let me sit in it and take a photo. So I've got a photo of myself sat in Del Boy's three-wheel van, the yellow van from Only Fools and Horses. Not Only Fools. Yes, from Only Fools and Horses. Why does that name feel weird now? Watch that on Netflix too. It's a bit offensive though. It's 19. I can't remember what year it was made actually. Maybe the 80s. It's quite offensive in some ways around race and sexuality and things we'd think more about now. Like I watched Faulty Towers last week, and I'm Mediterranean blood. I'm Greek Cypriot, and they started calling Mediterraneans monkeys in one of the episodes of series 2 of Faulty Towers, and I actually got quite offended because they even had a whole talk about it, and he started calling all brown people from the Mediterranean monkeys, and that we were lesser than his white brilliance. Yeah, I enjoyed it very much so up until the monkey point. And then I started thinking about all the people in my life that have called me monkey, and how they are all pure blood white. Every single one of them that's called me monkey in my life, which is many people have nicknamed me monkey, and I never thought about it. I don't think I look like a monkey. I think one of my girlfriends had nicknamed me it because I like climbing a lot. Oh, you're very fast, so I've just got beaten by a hacker in my last race. Oh well. Let's hope he crashes and we'll see what happens. You have a poor connection. You're getting reported. Not that it'll do anything. One of many people. I don't know what I'm saying now. I'm thinking about the cheater in front of me. I'm thinking how Archgirl, the leader of the Mad Allies, doesn't like me referring to them as hackers because that gives them some credit that they might actually know how to hack like an intelligent person, but all they've done is just install a cheating version of the game. Right. I'm not going to watch the replay. You can rewind the video to tell that that guy was cheating. And he's not a new ID. That's a player that's been in the game a long time with 6 digits. I can't believe that was connection. His car was so fast at the start. The acceleration of that car at the start of the race. Anyway, claim my reward. What am I going to get? for... Oh, I got 7 wins. I thought I only got to level 6. Give me blueprints. I definitely get them, but how many? Just 3. 5 more to star it up. Not going to get another go. I'm not going to pay tokens to have another go before this ends. I'm sure it'll come back several times and I'll have a chance to get this car maxed before this system of winning it disappears. Good luck, guys. I'm madder than you.